Fox Sports.
We are Black Force. We are Arizona.
Well, forget meeting the Mets. It's time to start beating the Mets. D-backs were swept in 3 games at Citi Field last month. Tonight, it's time for some payback as we host New York. First of 4, D-backs and Mets were set to go on Fox Sports Arizona. Good evening from Chase Field. Welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthiaume, Bob Renly along the way. The purple is in place tonight on this Throwback Thursday. And the big unit, Randy Johnson, joins us in the booth a little later on. Tonight, the first of 4 against the Mets. Bob, it's Matt Cook on the mound, looking in a sense for a return to form.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt really did a nice job plugging a hole in that rotation. We know that Zach Greinke and Patrick Corbin are the top 2 in the rotation. The bottom 3 spots a little bit up for grabs right now. You see what Matt Cook has done over his last 6 starts this season. And with guys coming back off the disabled list, hopefully soon, it could be time to put up or shut up for Matt Cook.
Well, this is a terrific night to face this Mets lineup. Everyone recalls what the D-backs did offensively in May. Well, the Mets are going through that right now here in June.
Wow, and you could go through this in Arizona. Only the Diamondbacks fans will know about it. But you do this in the Big Apple, everybody in the world is pointing fingers at the Mets and wondering what happened.
They are reeling. Time to start beating the Mets. The first of 4 is coming up on Fox Sports Arizona. D-backs baseball on Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you by CenturyLink, connecting you to the power of the digital world. By BJ's Restaurant and Brewhouse. Visit bjsrestaurants.com to find a location near you. By Carl's Jr. The Memphis Barbecue Thick Burger is back at Carl's Jr. only for a limited time. Go on and pick it up. And by your Valley Honda dealers, where you'll get more standard features for less money. Is brought to you by Jack in the Box. This season, D-backs home runs score free Jumbo Jacks only at Jack in the Box. By Santan Ford, we are Santan Ford. By One AZ Credit Union, let's bank together. And by Gila River Hotels and Casinos. The card by Gila River Casinos earns you rewards 10 times faster than ever before. Sign up for the card today. Oh, we know it's hot outside, nice and cool inside Chase Field. Matt Cook on the mound for the D-backs against the Mets. First pitch next on Fox Sports Arizona. Close inside Chase Field. Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly, Jody Jackson with you. The first of four, the D-backs and the New York Mets, who are really scuffling right now. Mets have lost 10 of their last 11, 15 of their last 18. And here's their starting lineup tonight, brought to you by your Valley Chevy dealers.
Yeah, Mickey Callaway just looking for the right combination. Michael Conforto will lead it off out in center field. Veteran Todd Frazier down at third base. Brandon Nimmo out in right field with Asdrubal Cabrera playing second base. Jose Bautista, Joey Bats out in left field. Dominic Smith just back up from the minor leagues not too long ago. He'll be at first base. Devin Mesoraco doing the catching. Ahmed Rosario at short, and Jason Vargas, the lefty, on the mound.
Your Ram Trucks starting pitcher for the D-backs is the right-hander Matt Cook, who was originally a third-round draft pick by the Mets. Matt this year, 4-3, a 4.20 ERA. He is 2-3 in his last 6 starts, looking for a little more consistency here tonight.
Yeah, early on, Matt Cook was getting a lot of balls hit right at defenders, occasionally hard hit balls right at defenders, but he kept putting outs on the board. More recently, they've been making solid contact. The opponent's hitting .304 over his last 6 games with 9 home runs.
E.D. Marshall Jewelers has a look around the diamond at the D-backs defense tonight.
David Peralta in left field. Chris Owings getting the start in center field tonight with John Jay over in right. It'll be Jake Lamb and Nick Ahmed on the left side of the infield. Ketel Marte, Paul Goldschmidt on the right side. John Ryan Murphy will be behind the plate for righty Matt Cook.
Bruce Dreckman will be behind the plate for the umpires, calling the balls and strikes. Chad Fairchild, our first base up. Mike Estabrook at second, and the crew chief Jim Reynolds down there at third with third base coach Glenn Sherlock. Time now, BB, for your Valley Honda dealers key to the game.
Well, the Diamondbacks would like to return the favor to the Mets. You may recall not too long ago, the Diamondbacks went back to the Big Apple and got swept a 3-game series by the Mets. So we'd love to return the favor 1 game at a time. 4 one-game winning streaks.
I love it. Yeah, the Mets, they come into the Valley for this 4-game set, trailing Atlanta by 9.5 for the NL East lead. As we showed you the offense at the top of the show, they've scored 3 runs or fewer in 9 straight games, and looking for some offensive punch here as Michael Conforto is set to get us started. D-backs will right away put the shift on against the left-hand batter. Fastball in there at the knees, 0-1.
You know, much like when the Diamondbacks struggled in the month of May, it is mind-boggling the numbers for the Mets in their June slump.
Yeah, Conforto, one of many. He's 3 for 34 this month.
Over their last 11 games, they're 1-10. They've hit 137 as a unit, averaging under a run and a half a game. And during that time, the starting pitcher's ERA was under 2.5.
Jacob deGrom has been sensational for them, but he can't buy a win these days. Mickey Callaway, as you said, looking for answers. There's Thor, Noah Syndergaard. He's one of many key injured Mets right now. Syndergaard went on the DL at the end of last month. He's got a finger problem. Back into their bullpen is on the DL. Ramos and Familia. Still no Cespedes. Right now they're without Wilmer Flores. A lot of key injuries for the Mets right now. 2-2 on Conforto.
And we were joking before the ball game on the daily roster that they give us. The disabled list for the Mets is a pretty good team.
Yeah,
there's some good names on that list. David Wright, Wilmer Flores, Juan Lagares, TJ Rivera, who we saw at the end of the season last year, Yoenis Cespedes, and that's just the position players.
Conforto punches one away from the shift. Nice play by Jake Lamb, and Goldie's got it at first base. Pretty 5-3 right there, gets us started.
Well, one thing you know, if you're the only defender on that side of the field, you're not going to run into anybody. Jake Lamb ranging far to his right to get to that ball with the backhand, throws across his body, across the diamond. First out of the game.
How about that pick by Goldie?
Wow.
Pretty. Little flair to that one. Don't usually get that from Goldie. Little Willie Montañez.
Yeah, there you go.
Former Met great. Here's Todd Frazier, the Mets third baseman. We did not see Frazier when we were in New York last month. He was on the DL. Now they put 3 defenders on the third base side of the infield. Frazier, 227. He's got 7 homers. He was down with a left hamstring strain in early May and missed a month.
I haven't seen it so much with the Mets, but when Todd Frazier was with the Cincinnati Reds, he took some of the funniest looking swings you'll ever want to see.
Ooh, Bruce Dreckman. Look at that look. Bruce Dreckman missed one. Does he spin around, hop up and down?
It's just odd. Say he'll stand there with his bat behind his right shoulder, and there'll be a little indecision on a pitch down and in, and he'll take his bat from that position and go straight down behind his right hip and then swing it forward. It looks like a golf swing almost. Just to try to get the bat on the ball, especially with 2 strikes.
Missed with a cutter away. 2-2. Brandon Nimmo, the right fielder, all armored up on deck. Tapper up the middle. Ketel Marte, the second baseman, cleans that up. A couple of ground ball outs for Cook to start us off.
Well, a quick 1-2-3 inning would really be what the doctor ordered. When you're playing a struggling team and you send them back out there on defense quickly in that first inning, it just tends to keep the ball rolling in the wrong direction for the Mets.
Shift goes back to the other side now for the left-hand batting Nimmo. 265 and 8 homers. See that big elbow guard he's got. Shin guard, elbow guard, wrist guard. He's got a knack for getting hit by pitches.
He's a little bit like John Jay in that respect. You know, he's all armored up. He stands fairly close to the plate, and he anticipates pitches inside and just doesn't get out of the way very often.
Yeah, he's been hit 10 times this year. Was that yesterday that happened?
I think it was a couple days ago, maybe against the Cubs. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember the opponent, but yeah, he was hit on that elbow guard and started to run down to first base, and the plate umpire called him back.
Said, no, you didn't make any kind of an effort to get out of the way. Mickey Callaway got ejected because it was a curveball coming almost from behind Nimmo, so he just stood there and took it, and the umpire said, no, no, no. And Nimmo was like, I'm standing right here in the box. What am I supposed to do? Got nowhere to go. Don't see that very often. Nimmo gets into one and launches it deep to right field. Not so much for the slumping Mets. That's his ninth. They lead it 1-0. A little too tall for John Jay out there.
Yeah, you know, off the bat, it sounded like that was going to be way out of here, but John Jay had a pretty good read on it. He didn't give up on the ball, gets back to the barrier, and just misses. Oh, my.
Well, that's been a problem for Matt Cook. That's the 13th home run he's given up this year. In 60 innings of work is Drupal Cabrera. Switch hitting second baseman, a swing and a miss at a cut fastball. Shift is still on here. There's a changeup that misses. Cabrera 277. He is leading the Mets with 11 homers. He leads New York in RBIs. Despite a very disappointing month of June so far. He's 4 for 34 this month. Wow. Bruce Dreckman has had 2 brutal misses so far. One on the inside pitch to Frazier, and that one to Cabrera was nowhere near the strike zone. 2-2.
Occasionally when you see an erratic strike zone in the first inning like this, I would go back to the dugout and tell the guys, hey, you better be hacking. That plate is really wide tonight.
Missed with a curveball, and now it's full 3-2. Jose Bautista. Seems weird to see him in a Met uniform, but here he is. He would be next. Mets drafted Matt Cook out of Louisville, a 3rd rounder in the 2012 draft. D-backs acquired Matt in August of 2015. That was part of the deal that sent Addison Reed to New York. That was right there. Bottom of the strike zone. Nimmo's homer gives the Mets the early lead. New York, the early lead for your Ram truck starter for the Mets, the veteran lefty Jason Vargas, whom the D-backs faced on the final day of the regular season last year when he was with Kansas City. He's 2-4 with the Mets. The ERA is almost 8.
I see a couple of different fastballs from Vargas, a four-seamer and a sinker that he'll go to often. A straight changeup that's an effective pitch for him. We'll mix in an occasional curveball. He will pitch backwards, and I'll explain what that means as we move forward.
First, explain the lineup presented by the Valley Chevy dealers.
John Jay in right field. Nick Ahmed at short. Paul Goldschmidt will be at first base with John Ryan Murphy doing the catching. David Peralta out in left field. Ketel Marte at second base. Jake Lamb at third. Chris Owings in center, and Matt Cook on the mound.
85 miles an hour on that fastball. That's about it for Vargas. John Jay, 301, 2 homers. John has been rolling lately, 5 hits and 5 RBIs in his last 2 games. '87 that time. 1-2 from Vargas, now 35 years old. An 18-game winner in Kansas City last year. He was an American League All-Star. Called strike 3, really locating that fastball. E.D. Marshall Jewelers has a look at the New York defense.
Jose Bautista in left field. Michael Conforto in center. Brandon Nimmo with the home run early. He's out in right field. It'll be Todd Frazier and Ahmed Rosario on the left side of the infield, as Drubal Cabrera and Dominic Smith on the right side. Devin Mesoraco does the catching tonight for the lefty Jason Vargas.
Nick Ahmed batting second against the left-hander. 223. 9 homers for Nick. He singled and scored a run yesterday. So pitching backwards, what is that?
Well, the idea being, conventional wisdom was if a pitcher's ahead in the count, that's when you throw your wickedest pitches. A hard slider, a curveball, a splitter, something like that out of the strike zone. Trying to get guys to chase. Vargas, on the other hand, when he gets ahead of hitters, he challenges with fastballs. When he gets behind in the count to the hitter, advantage hitter, that's when you'll see the changeup and the slow curveball. And in baseball, they call that pitching backwards. He doesn't do it all the time, but it's something that he's done repeatedly throughout his career.
You can see how he succeeds. He's really locating the ball well with the fastball. That was the changeup right there. Everything right around the strike zone, just on the edges.
You know, it's kind of like football. Do you establish a running game first, or do you open up your offense right away? You know, some pitchers, they want to throw a lot of fastballs when they're behind in the count. Challenge that strike zone. Challenge that opposing hitter. Jason Vargas doesn't have the kind of stuff to challenge hitters when he's behind in the count.
2-2 on the D-back shortstop.
I always felt that right-hander Scott Sanderson pitched for a number of teams in the major leagues back in the 80s. I felt he was a guy that always pitched backwards, and he used to take great offense at that. I pitch however I need to get guys out, but it always seemed like he threw breaking balls when he was behind in the count and fastballs when he was ahead in the count.
Is that because guys that do that don't have the 95 plus, right?
Usually not, yeah. They have to kind of make their fastball look faster by throwing a lot of off-speed pitches, and then, you know, 88, 89 suddenly looks like 99.
Paul Goldschmidt, 258, a dozen home runs. Go Goldie. He's been going lately. He's hit safely in 9 straight games. Pretty good pitch right there. Showed up as a strike, but that time Dreckman says ball 1. If you're watching our strike zone, the white circle indicates strike. The clear circle indicates ball. That one was a full white circle. So was that one. That's a strike, 1-1.
You know, I've always liked Bruce Dreckman. I think he works hard back there behind the plate. He has fun with the game. You'll see him giving balls to fans during the game, talking to players when they come around the bases. But just like every other umpire behind the plate, he's going to miss some pitches over the course of a ball game.
Good change up there, and it's 1-2. All right, so now Vargas, for example, is ahead 1-2. So if you're pitching backward, what would you throw here?
Probably a fastball. conventional wisdom is I can expand the strike zone here. I'm going to bounce a breaking ball or bounce a changeup. He might throw a fastball right here. And he's been around long enough to not fall into any definitive patterns. That's just kind of a general overview of what Jason Vargas tries to do at this stage of his career. That doesn't mean he's always going to throw fastballs in 1-2 counts, but I wouldn't be surprised to see one right here.
He got it. Came in on Goldie and got the swing and a miss. 88 miles an hour on that fastball.
Elevated up there above the top of the zone, off the plate inside. Sure looked tempting at 88, but just couldn't quite catch up.
The catcher, John Ryan Murphy, in the cleanup spot. 257, 8 home runs. This should be a pretty good matchup for John Ryan, who's done most of his damage this year against left-hand pitchers. Ahmed takes off. They got him picked off. D-backs run into an out. That ends the first. They trail the Mets 1-0.
Back with you, and you know what, this Mets series, we all know the D-backs got swept by the Mets back in mid-May. So our top of the order at first is going to focus on the words from David Peralta earlier today. I had the chance to talk to him. He says, look, we know we weren't on our best in that series, so yes, absolutely, it's a chance for a little revenge against the Mets and show them exactly what kind of team that we are. And guys, just an update also on the injury front. I know a lot of things to watch tonight, including Robbie Ray, Randall Delgado. I know we're always watching A.J. Pollock and his healing, but Steven Souza Jr., he threw yesterday out to 45 feet, said he feels great today, and he's been hitting, so that hasn't been the issue, but he's hoping that by mid next week he'll be throwing out to about 120 and he'll know more about how he's feeling.
Yeah, the injury news is very encouraging across the board, Jody. Thanks. Here's Jose Bautista, longtime Toronto Blue Jay. He's landed in New York. First pitch swing, and that's fouled away. Joey Bats, Joey Bats. He's hitting 197, couple of homers. And after a decade in Toronto, did not get a job this winter. Finally signed with Atlanta in the middle of April. Was let go by the Braves last month and signed with the Mets. This is headed for the right field line. John Jay sliding and running out of room. 0-2. As Jody mentioned, there's a lot to be excited about. Robbie Ray starts tonight for Visalia. He'll throw about 50 pitches. Randall Delgado also in action tonight. He's pitching for Reno. Randall looking at 2 innings, 50 pitches. And Shelby Miller starts for Visalia Saturday. And they hope to get Shelby up to about 85. There he is. 6 innings, 85 pitches, give or take. And as Jody mentioned, Steven Souza Jr. has been throwing, going to throw again tomorrow. He continues to progress. AJ will have another checkup next week. So a whole nother wave is coming soon. Tried the cutter down there, just missed. That's the pitch that Clay Buchholz just couldn't throw for a strike the other night. And Matt didn't quite get the call there. 2-2. There's Clay. He will start Sunday against the Mets in the series finale. Dominic Smith on deck. Went to the slow curveball. Bautista just did get a piece.
Yeah, Bautista really developed into one of the better power hitters in the game when he went to Toronto. He was kind of a light hitting utility infielder when I remembered him with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then he kind of disappeared for a while and reemerged in Toronto as a slugger.
There's the cutter, got him to chase down and away that time, and Matt gets his second strikeout.
Good location on that pitch. Starts it just inside the outside corner and scoots it off the plate over into that left-handed batter's box. Bautista can't get to it.
Dominic Smith just brought up from the minor leagues. He's 1 for 6 in 4 games so far, considered to be their future at first base. Mets decided to accelerate that timeline a bit. They released Adrian Gonzalez Sunday and brought Smith up. He's slimmed down a bit. Weight has been a problem for this youngster. He's only 22 and turns 23 tomorrow, in fact. There's a look at the D-backs defense against him. 2-0. Salt River fans have seen Dominic Smith in the Fall League not too long ago. He had an impressive Fall League. Had a big year at AAA Las Vegas last season. Hit .330. Devin Mesoraco, the catcher, on deck.
Helmets and masks flying all over the place back there. Big swing by Dominic Smith. He lost his batting helmet, fouled it off the mask of John Ryan Murphy, and he lost his mask. Definitely something to file away for the remainder of this series. A 3-0 swing right there by Dominic Smith.
Got the cutter in that time. There's Kathy the General Grant, our Golden Glover, down the right field line.
Had to cover a lot of ground that time.
And appropriate that working left field today is the Dark Knight, Tom Harvey. Of course, Matt Harvey no longer a Met, currently traded to Cincinnati for the guy who's on deck, Devin Mesoraco. Swing and a miss. 3 consecutive strikeouts for Matt Cook after that Nimmo homer.
Hey fans, the day after every D-backs win, get 50% off all pizzas at regular menu price using promo code D-backs50 at papajohns.com.
Mesoraco, the catcher, the former Red. 214, 6 homers. He was on that list of Mets misery we showed you at the top of the broadcast. One of the slumping bats here in June. But don't come here if you're looking for sympathy. Haven't hit much this month. Take it somewhere else. Got a lot of injuries. Go talk to somebody else.
Hang with them.
Exactly. D-backs fans have had plenty of both.
Well, we've talked about it a lot in the past, partners. A good batting practice doesn't guarantee good at bats in the game, and a bad batting practice, on the other hand, doesn't guarantee that you're going to go up there and strike out 5 times. If batting practice was any indication, Devin Mesoraco is going to have a rough night. Glenn Sherlock was carving him up like he was Kurt Schilling out there on the mound in batting practice. Now, granted, Devin Mesoraco may have been working on some things and trying to iron out some mechanical issues, so that's why you can't always gauge what a guy does in batting practice by what you think he'll do in the game.
There's Sherles. Yeah, he was hitting him up into the top of the screen a lot.
Yeah, a lot of pop-ups to the catcher.
It's a hold of one here. Peralta is there. Nice bounce back inning for Matt Cook. A 1-2-3 second. D-backs trail at 1-0. No, she was holding up a Brenly jersey and sat down at precisely the wrong moment.
Oh, that's all right. We appreciate the effort. There you go.
You handing those out downstairs or something?
Yeah.
It's a good-looking shirt right there.
Got the flag on the back there. That must have been a postseason model.
Don't forget, you can play our D-backs 50-50 charity raffle presented by the Arizona Lottery from home along with all of us here at the ballpark. Tickets purchased online during every D-backs home game here on Fox Sports Arizona at dbacks.com/50-50 raffle, and the winning numbers revealed on the postgame show. Throwback Thursday as we celebrate 20 years of D-backs baseball. John Ryan Murphy leads off the bottom of the second inning. Today, D-backs are honoring the 2002 NL West Division champs, wearing the home whites of that 0-2 team. Randy Johnson will join us in the booth for a good portion of the game coming up shortly. Randy was down there throwing out the first pitch along with Mike Fetters and some other guys. Brett Prinz down there.
Next step for Randy will be a simulated game, and then he's going to go out and pitch at one of the affiliates, and by August he'll be in the rotation.
Not a bad idea. Put him in the bullpen.
Yeah, why not?
We'll ask him about that when he comes in. I think he might be onto something there. Slow curveball. Murphy takes a look, and it's 2-2. John Ryan was up at the plate when Nick Ahmed was picked off to win the bottom of the first. David Peralta on deck. Full count to Murphy, 3-2. Brandon Nimmo's home run in the first, the only run of the ball game so far. This is way inside with that fastball. Second walk for Vargas, and here comes the freight train.
Yeah, we saw Nick Ahmed get thrown out trying to steal to end that bottom half of the first inning. Something you might see a lot of from the Diamondbacks tonight. Mesoraco behind the plate. One caught stealing in 14 attempts this season.
Gotta put your foot on the accelerator. Peralta 274. David tied with Goldie for the team lead with those 12 home runs. First pitch fastball is a strike, 0-1. David homered yesterday, had a triple here Tuesday night. He's hit safely in 5 straight. Uh-oh. Doesn't seem to be in any immediate pain.
Got him on the right forearm there, mostly muscle. That's a good thing. David's got lots of muscles.
Sure does.
Second baseman, number 4.
That'll bring up Ketel Marte. 2 on, nobody out.
Building an inning here. Leadoff walk, a hit by pitch, make it hurt.
Link some moments. Play downhill baseball. Marte up to 249 now, 4 homers. He's got Murphy at second, Peralta at first, and nobody out. There's a curveball for a strike. Quicken Loans rocket mortgage breakdown. They've all been rockets off the bat of Ketel Marte lately.
Yeah, an appropriate sponsor for that spot because Ketel Marte has been hitting nothing but line drives and long fly balls in the month of June.
That's actually true. They measure that with StatCast right now. He's among baseball's hardest hitters in the month of June. Belts that into left field. They'll wave Murphy. Bautista bobbles the ball, and we're tied at 1. Not sure they would have had Murphy at the plate, but he's in there safely. A good start to the second inning for the D-backs.
Well, it might have been interesting at the plate. Joey Bats does not throw well. John Ryan Murphy does not run well. But Ketel Marte can swing it. We were just talking about how hard he's been hitting the ball lately. There's another line drive into left field, driving home the first run of the game.
107 miles an hour off the bat that time. Boy, Ketel Marte now 6 for his last 12 with runners in scoring position. 9 RBIs. Jake Lamb.
wow is right.
Wow. I mean, Bruce Dreckman has had some unbelievable misses so far. You don't want to get on him too much, but holy cow.
Well, and it's not isolated to Bruce Dreckman. We see this every night. Every night.
This is belted to right field. Nimmo is there. Peralta tags and heads for third.
Maybe just got in on Jake a little bit that time. He really timed that curveball well, but maybe jammed himself just a little bit. Good base running by David Peralta to recognize that ball was going to be caught easily out there in deep right center, and tagged and went to third.
Chris Owings in center field tonight. CO 193, 3 homers. We've got Peralta at third, Marte at first, and 1 out.
Now this could call this the Joe Madden special right here. This is a situation that just screams out for a potential safety squeeze bunt. CO handles that bat really well. Had good speed on the bases. 1 out in the inning. The one thing you want to avoid is a double play.
Got the pitcher on deck behind him in Matt Cook. Vargas humped it up to 89 that time. 0-1. Tony Perez-Chica coaching at third. Well, he's putting that fastball in pretty good spots for the most part. Jumps ahead 0-2. That's the pitch he used to strike out Goldie back in the first inning.
Pitching backwards, coming in 0-2 with a fastball.
Left it up there at 87. We'll be joined by Randy Johnson in our booth for the middle portions of the ball game. The big unit will join us in the next half inning. We'll spend some time with RJ talking about that 0-2 team and anything else that might come up. You never know.
How hard did Ketel Marte hit that single? You said 107 miles an hour. Brandon Nimmo's homer was 97 miles an hour. All about launch angle when you hit it that hard.
Dropped the curveball in there, and he rings up Owings.
Big loopy curveball from Jason Vargas. A lot of right-handed hitters will quit on that pitch. They see it way up and away when it leaves his hand, but takes that late break and drops it right into the zone.
Well, it's up to Matt Cook. They're on the corners with 2 down. Peralta dancing around down behind Vargas at third. D-backs coming into this 4-game set against the Mets, having won 5 of their last 6. They've won 11 of 15. Holding a 2-game edge over the Dodgers atop the NL West. Dodgers won on a wild walk-off last night. Matt Kemp crashed into the Rangers catcher. Bench is empty. They had a crazy ball game in LA last night.
Perfectly legal too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, look out.
Get off me.
That was a little fearful for John Jay in the on-deck circle. There's a late swing trying to get out of the way. That ball rockets over into the on-deck circle.
Well, fortunately, John's got a lot of armor.
Yes, he
might have
does.
needed it there. 1-1 on Matt Cook. Curveball's low, 2 balls and a strike.
Well, and Matt Cook check swing on that pitch up and in. A little reminiscent of some of Brandon Webb's better swings.
Better is an operative word, loosely defined. This is a mile in the air, short center. Conforto coming in. And Vargas strands two, but the D-backs get the equalizer. Randy Johnson joins us when we come back.
Look at this day in baseball history, brought to you by Geico. We go back to 1974 tonight. Nolan Ryan threw 235 pitches, striking out 19 batters in a 13-inning game. Poor Cecil Cooper punched out 6 times.
And he was probably just getting warmed up.
Oh, yeah, just getting loose. Went down to the bullpen to throw a few more pitches after he came out.
Ow.
The big unit is with us, as
35
we
pitches.
often do
I
on
never
these
extended
Thursdays.
you that far.
Oh.
You probably thought about it.
Yeah,
too.
he probably wanted to.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're great. What have you been up to?
Well,
haven't seen you in a while.
Well, you guys were on the road a little bit,
Yeah.
but I caught those games when you were in San Francisco. I was up visiting my mother in Northern California, Grass Valley, and then got home, and then I caught the remainder of that road trip against Colorado on TV. But staying busy, if you will. We're just enjoying retired life, whatever that means.
I guess you find out on a day-by-day basis.
I bring out my garbage can to the streets on Wednesday. That's garbage day. I get my newspaper in the morning, and now at the point you got to go out about 6 o'clock in the morning before the sun comes up, so you don't get third-degree burns.
Yeah,
it's 110 out now, so
got to walk the dog at sunrise.
Exactly.
Ahmed Rosario, the Mets shortstop, leads
your
off
neighbor's
the third.
dog.
Did you do that? Are you one of those dog walkers now? Maybe you should think about that.
Well,
a few extra bucks on the side.
Sure, after baseball. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
So we're wearing the 2002 throwbacks on this Throwback Thursday, NL West Division champs. And I was not here then. It was a while ago. But everybody tells me the 02 team was better than the 01 team. Is that true?
Well, let's ask Bob that.
Well, they won more games during the regular season. We'll put it that way. And, you know, a lot of the same cast of characters. And after winning in 01, we weren't afraid to go out and win again in 02. Unfortunately, a very devastating injury late in the season.
Sure, with Gonzo, yeah. That's you know, of all the things that year that I remember him, you know, going for the fly ball, running into the wall down there, and then the game come to a dead stop, and then him holding his shoulder. And that's really all I remember from that year, to be honest with you. It was that much of an impact on the season.
Sure. I mean, even the people in St. Louis, and we all know what great fans they are in St. Louis, but they recognized how important Gonzo was. They saw we were headed to the postseason, and they even responded.
Right, yeah.
Was that the victory lap season? I've heard people describe it that way.
It kind of felt that way, especially in Boston. For me, going into Fenway Park, that was looped out into shallow right field. Should be no problem for John Jay. We went into Boston and swept the Red Sox at Fenway, and they had a good team that year, and they thought they were going to go somewhere that season. So to go in there and put a whooping on them like we did, that really felt good. And Nomar Garciaparra called the manager's office at Fenway after the game and said, "You guys got a really good ball club. Now I know why you won the World Series."
Wow. Of course, you guys had beaten the Yankees, so it was roll out the red carpet time in Boston.
With all that being said, you try to follow up the following year if your team's still intact, which it pretty much was. You then realize how difficult it is to repeat because you got to keep everybody healthy, and obviously baseball being the longest season of any sport, there's a lot more opportunity for people to get hurt throughout the course of the season, and the biggest impacted injury that we had that year was Gonzo, and you know that meant everything to our team. So to answer the question, I'm not really sure. All I know is 2001 we won the World Series, and so that was a pretty good team too. You know.
Vargas hits one out to right center, and CO runs it down.
Oh God, looks like we hitting out there. Okay, maybe not.
By the way, my staff was busy there while we were talking. Randy's
sure.
most pitches in a game, you did it twice, 160.
Really?
None of them are mine. 1992 against the Rangers and 1995.
I like how you immediately avoided yourself. I'm not responsible for this.
Wash your hands. I didn't do it.
You know, it's kind of ironic. You led into the beginning of the inning with Nolan Ryan. Well, that 160 pitch inning, 100.
That's a long inning.
Yeah, it was. Wow. My arm was hanging after that.
No bullpen or something.
106 pitch game was against Nolan Ryan.
Oh.
And if you're crack engineers, do the research. Nolan started that game. He came out in that game that I pitched. It was only 8 innings for me. That was in Arlington. I actually struck out 18 in that game, and it was only 8 innings. And they were chanting for me to come back out. The fans, and we were in Arlington. I think they wanted to see me throw enough so my arm would come off.
Yeah, 8 innings, 6 hits, only gave up a couple of runs, punched out 18, took a no decision.
And the cool thing about is that's the only time I ever faced, or me and Nolan had matched up. He was in the dugout riding the bike.
Really?
Yeah, he was out after about 6 innings, but he was riding the bike, and I just thought it was pretty cool that he would stick around and watch me throw. And at that point, that was you know, early in Seattle.
He's got the bike in the dugout?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nolan could do whatever he wanted.
Absolutely. I'm not going to tell him he can't. Sure. Conforto walks. That ends a stretch of 6 in a row set down by Matt Cook.
Well, I told the story the other day, Randy, back when I was playing against the Astros and Nolan was pitching there. He went out and, you know, shut us out over 8 innings or some ridiculous thing. Probably threw 130, 140 pitches. And after the game, when I was leaving the Astrodome, you had to walk by the weight room to get out to the loading dock to leave. And I could hear weights banging in there, and I thought, who in the world is still working out? It was Nolan Ryan.
Now, you remember pitching against Nolan Ryan. I'm sure there are lots of guys that remember pitching against you in that sort of similar vein. I pitched against Randy Johnson one time.
Well, and I
ever had a guy come up and say that to you?
I'd be flattered if you know, but I mean, come on.
Yeah.
We're talking Nolan Ryan here. You know.
Your resume is not bad either, I have to point out.
Well, I still am a little kid when I go to the Hall of Fame, and it's still.
That's a great place, isn't it?
It really is.
Center field off the bat of Frazier. And he strands the 2-out walk. Randy Johnson with us tonight. D-backs and Mets tied at 1.
Terry by sharing a photo or video with hashtag HatsOffForHeroes. For each post, T-Mobile will donate $1 to support veterans.
Randy Johnson with us in the booth on this Throwback Thursday. D-backs and Mets tied at 1 as John Jay leads off the bottom of the third against lefty Jason Vargas. Jay struck out looking to lead off the ball game. There's his strike. So you said you've been watching a lot of games on the TV in between NBA Finals and Stanley Cup stuff.
I mean, I've been here to some games, but
sure.
I find myself pretty comfortable in my recliner these days, and you know.
John Jay knocks it up the middle. So you watched both here and on television Goldie struggle, and now we've all seen him turn it around. What do you make of what he's been through lately?
That you don't keep a good hitter like Paul Goldschmidt down for very long. And if I can put it in pitching terms, because I don't know anything about being a hitter, you have a quality pitcher out there. Things are not always going to go your way. If you're making good contact, you could be hitting it, you know, line drives to the outfield or the infield or somewhere. You know, guy could making diving catches. If you're a pitcher, you know, you're making good pitches, and people are getting hits. You know, but eventually things turn around if you continue to work hard, and that's one thing that I've always known about Goldie, is that he's a hard worker, and you're never that far off from where you were, from what got you where you're at. And so to try and change things all up might get you further away from where you need to be. So in time he got back, and I'm happy to see that, because you know, we're right back to where we were, first place again, and you know, it's a long year. The one thing that I can assure you, if Goldie plays for 7 to 10 more years, right? Well, let's just say 7 more years, 5 to 7 more years, he is going to go in a couple more slumps in that time. I can guarantee you that. I mean, everybody does.
But this was the worst one that we've seen.
Well, you know what?
The length and the degree.
Well, you know what? And 5 years after he retires, he'll be on the ballot for the Hall of Fame, and
absolutely,
and he could be a Hall of Fame candidate, you know, by that time. And I guarantee you, there's a lot of people in Cooperstown that have gone through long droughts, pitching droughts, and hitting droughts, and you know, hitting slumps, and it's baseball. It happens, you know.
There's Nick Ahmed.
It's the good pitchers and the good hitters that can get back to where they need to be sooner than the ones that are struggling getting back there.
I've heard pitchers talk about how they read hitters and how the hitter reacts to their particular pitches. What did you see from Goldie when things were not going so well, and what do you see now when they are?
I did see him strike out, but
sure,
you know what? Everybody strikes out. I don't know anything about him, so I just know that he's too good of a hitter, that he was going to turn it around, you know.
And he certainly has this month. He's been unbelievable.
And that's, you start getting, you know, some of the key pieces and back. Hopefully, you know, AJ will be back here soon, and you get Goldie the way he is, and we're where we need to be right now. You know, we're in first place, and let people chase us. You know.
And with the injuries, every team is going to suffer some injuries over the course of the season. Well, if you're going to have them, you'd much rather have them early. The injuries that we initially had for this team were pitching injuries. You know, Robbie Ray going down, and our pitching has held up pretty well.
Yes, absolutely.
So, you know, it could have been a lot worse. You know, with the key injuries that we had. So where we're at right now, I think anybody would take that based on where we were, you know, a month and a half ago, knowing that we had some key injuries with, you know, AJ and with Robbie Ray and some of the other pitchers.
Here's the 3-2 to Ahmed. They'll keep an eye on Jay over there. Yeah, 7 over 500.
It's about just keeping the boat afloat. You know, it's not the 25 guys. That's why when you win a World Series, there's people that are coming up from the minor leagues, like we got here, or we got people coming out of the bullpen that are being spot starter, taking up, you know, a starting position here, and they're kind of keeping things going until the guys can come back and hopefully resume where they left off.
Nick hits one that Frazier collects. They get one, and they turn the double play.
The way I like to look at it, okay, you've got a first-place team here in Arizona, and you're going to make a trade and get A.J. Pollock, Steven Souza, Robbie Ray, and Shelby Miller. Wow. How do you like that?
Without giving up anything.
Without giving up anything.
Exactly.
This team is going to get healthy. Shelby pitches Saturday for Visalia. Robbie Ray and Randall Delgado are both pitching tonight. And as Jody told us earlier, Steven Souza Jr. continues making progress. A.J. will get another checkup next week. Here is Goldie. Struck out his first time. That's how Vargas got him out the first time, working him inside with fastballs, inside and up. That showed up as a strike, but Bruce Dreckman says ball one.
Now that 0 on the board for the Diamondbacks in the first inning has to be a pleasant surprise for Jason Vargas. He'd given up 14 first inning runs in his 7 starts.
They got 2 strikeouts and a runner picked off base in that first inning. D-backs got the equalizer on a walk, a hit batter, and a Ketel Marte RBI single. John Ryan Murphy would be next. 3-0 on Goldie. Launches one high in the air. Deep left field. Goldie, gone.
Well, there you go.
That's number 13, and it's 2-1 D-backs.
Well, we had a great shot of Devin Mesoraco calling for that fastball in on a 3-1 pitch to one of the most dangerous hitters in the league, and Goldie does what you're supposed to do. Took that 3-1 cookie and hit it into the bleachers. Diamondbacks second only to the Los Angeles Dodgers in home runs in the month of June. Cubs and the Mets in dead last in the month of June with 6 each.
All smiles after that. Jumbo Jack, free Jumbo Jack tomorrow at Jack in the Box with the purchase of a large drink. Make it a 10-game hitting streak for 44. Here's John Ryan Murphy, who walked his first time up. He's pretty good, isn't he?
He's really good. You know, and it's hard to compare. You know, I mean, when you're a pitcher, I was in a slump, but it was to my. We'll have to come back and we'll talk about it next year.
All right, we call that a teaser in the business.
Yeah,
nice going.
There you go.
You're picking this stuff up pretty well. Goldie homers, 2-1 D-backs.
Goldschmidt home run. Jason Vargas misses in with a fastball, then tries a couple of changeups down near the bottom of the zone. Goldie not biting, takes a fastball right down the middle and then just absolutely launches an 87-mile-an-hour heater out of here to left field. Our nationwide vision eye on the game.
It's amazing, Bob, how teams insist on trying to pitch him inside. We see it time and time again.
Well, you know, there was a stretch there in May where it was working. They were getting in on his hands. He was making a lot of soft contact, but made some adjustments and started to pull the ball with a little more authority, and that really opened up that inside part of the plate for him.
Well, here's Brandon Nimmo, who homered in the first against Matt Cook. That's the only run and hit for New York so far. We're joined tonight by the big unit, Randy Johnson, in the booth. And I heard you say something as we were going to break there a minute ago. You said that pitchers can get in slumps. How does a pitcher get in a slump?
Well, I mean, in '99, for example, I got shut out 4 consecutive starts here.
The other guy, or the Diamondbacks scored zeros.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, I got shut out.
Wow.
We got shut out as a team 4 consecutive starts that I had started. I got, you know, and that was, you know, not really a slump on my part. But then if you want to make what a slump is when I went a month and a half not winning up in Seattle. And, you know, I pitched some win-worthy games, but I also pitched some pretty poor games, and they all kind of, you know, meshed together, and it's just a 7-game losing streak.
And then you look up and guys are going, what's wrong with Randy Johnson?
Exactly.
David Peralta in left field.
But when you go out and give up 4 or 5 runs, you know, in 4 starts, and you just get outpitched, and the guy throws a no-hitter against you, a 1-hitter, and a 2-hitter, and a 4-hitter, something like that. Well, you just picked the wrong day to pitch. Someone outpitched you.
I think Bob's staff has prepared some material.
From June 25th to July 15th in 1999, you had an 0-5 record. You pitched 40 innings, gave up only 25 hits, had an ERA of 1.13, and went 0-5.
Ouch.
Yeah, hang with
3
them.
complete games.
Hang with them.
How did you handle that? Seriously, how did you handle that?
Well, you know what? Much better than I handled going, may have been 0-6 with about a 5 ERA up in Seattle when I was, you know, up there in the early 90s. When the stats back up that you're pitching pretty good, it's a little bit easier to sleep at night, you know. But as competitive as I am or was.
Oh, Chris Owings runs it down off the bat of Asdrubal Cabrera. CO in center, 2 outs.
Oh. Really covers a lot of ground out there.
He's really, really fast.
Yeah. But I mean, as competitive as I was when I was pitching, you know, I never wanted to lose.
Sure.
And but when you go out and you give your team a chance to win, that's all you can hope for. But when you're giving up, you know, 5 runs in a game, and you know, it's not really giving your team a chance to win. So the Seattle slump that was more of a true slump. The stats that Bob just ran off, you know, I would take those stats any day and take my chances that I would be 0-5.
Jose Bautista struck out his first time.
Well, you know who this applies to right now is Jacob deGrom over there in that first base dugout. In his last 10 starts, the team is 2-8, even though he's pitched to an 0.87 ERA.
Well, I saw him pitch against us when we were in New York.
Oh, he carved us up.
Yeah. You know, and
on the ground to third.
I think we'll have to come back and we'll have a little segue back into next inning.
Continuing with the big unit teases into the breaks. 2-1 D-backs. Reminder, fans, live coverage of the 118th U.S. Open continues tomorrow from the Shinnecock Hills on Fox FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. I think you talk more during the commercials than you do on TV.
Well, I just got some insight, some intel from one of the
staff,
staff members up here that Mark Grace just made a comment that that I have to hit this cough button right here because I can't repeat what he said.
Well, he learned that lesson
when I lost
back in the day. Yeah.
Well, now that I know that Mark Grace is listening.
Oh, is he suggesting that you didn't handle your slump all that well?
Well, I would say in '99 I handled myself much better.
Peralta gets into one, deep to center, and that ball's off the wall. The freight train's headed for third. He's going to stop there.
We're going to have to look at video
inside park home run.
Tony Parashika put the brakes on. David was ready to come around third. Torrey will check with Alan Campbell, and the umpires will get together behind the pitcher's mound.
Yeah, I mean, even Conforto out there in center field gave up on it.
Yeah.
He knew it hit above the yellow line.
Umpires are huddled up. And that's gone, a home run. David Peralta. Goldie hit his 13th in the third. Peralta his 13th in the fourth. And it's 3-1 D-backs. Let's take another look.
Yeah, sometimes from up here in the press box, it's tough to tell where that ball hits on the batter's eye out there in center field. So I depend on the fans and the center fielder. And as I said, Conforto just quit on that ball as it ricocheted off the batter's eye.
Jumbo Jack. Free Jumbo Jack tomorrow at Jack in the Box with the purchase of a large drink. Peralta homers for the second game in a row. Ketel Marte had an RBI single his first time up tonight. David was flying around the bases.
Well, how about for David Peralta, 25 games in the month of May, he had 4 extra base hits. So far in 11 games in the month of June, he's got 10.
Good job by the umpires there to get together and work that out without replay. Of course, the umpires can look at that on their own. It's a boundary call. You don't necessarily have to use a challenge, but it's good to see we didn't have to go through that process.
Yeah, and sometimes the base umpires will have a better angle on that ball as it ricochets off the batter's eye out there than the second base umpire who's running straight out to center field trying to get a look at it.
And as you said, because it's a flat surface out there, when you're where we are, or if you're at home plate at second base, there's no depth. You can't really judge the angle. You got to wait for it to hit something and then be absolutely sure. Swing and a miss, and Vargas gets the strikeout. Did you like pitching in this ballpark?
Did I like pitching in this ballpark? Well, I didn't have much choice.
Well, there is that.
This ballpark.
Well, did you prefer pitching on the road, or did you like to pitch here? Well, I'll phrase it that way.
About out of 22 years, the favorite ballpark that I pitched in for 2 months was Houston Astrodome.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That treated
2
me
months
pretty well.
for you. Yeah, I'd say so.
But you know, I will say that the 2 ballparks are the 2 teams that I pitched for a majority of my career. The Kingdome, Seattle, that was a hitter's ballpark, and this is a hitter's ballpark.
Right.
So inevitably, pitching all those years between those 2 teams made me a better pitcher.
That's a great way to look at it. There's you can see how flat that surface is there.
You need to understand you have to pitch accordingly to where you're at.
Sure.
You know.
How do you do that?
Well, try to miss some bats.
So just blow guys away.
Well, yeah.
It's not a home run if they don't hit it.
You know, it's hard to really say, but I mean, in right field at the Kingdome, you know, there was a wall. It was much like the Green Monster in left field.
Jake Lamb hits it out to center.
So don't pitch lefties in, pitch them down and away so they're not in their power zone to pull the ball.
So you're pitching to the architecture.
You just have to, and you don't understand all these things until you make enough mistakes, understand the philosophy on what it takes to be successful, and the art of pitching.
Well, it's a good lesson for guys that do have to pitch in this ballpark, even with the humidor.
You know, I I think pitching at this ballpark was, you know, it's a little bit easier than pitching at what was in Seattle, the Kingdome.
Sure. Because everybody said that Zach Greinke couldn't pitch here when he had a rough time in his D-backs debut, and he's been almost unbeatable here at home with the exception of yesterday. Owings hits one deep to left. Bautista's there. David Peralta makes it 3-1. More with Randy Johnson when we come back. David Peralta deep to center field for his 13th of the year, and it's 3-1 D-backs. A winner is coming again. Game of Thrones night, July 7th at Chase Field. You can get a lower level game ticket, an exclusive Ice Dragon bobblehead for just $50 with a special event ticket pack. Limited quantities available. You got to move quickly on this one. dbacks.com/GOT Game of Thrones. So send a Raven, get your tickets, and we'll see you down here. You are into the Game of Thrones at all?
I am not. What is that?
Atta baby.
I'm on an island out here.
Did I say something funny?
Well,
Bob
no.
is not a fan of the show either.
I'm not big on science fiction.
You know, I think it's one of those
stuff.
things that if you miss the first season or you're halfway into the season, you don't know what's going on.
Well, you're a busy guy. You're traveling all over the world, taking pictures, watching stuff. You're here at the ballpark. Matt Cook coming off a 9-pitch fourth inning. Matt has retired 10 of the last 11 he's faced since the Nimmo homer, which is the Mets' only run. Dominic Smith leads off the fifth.
I'm just now finding out about Hulu and Netflix. So anything that you want to watch, you can watch there.
Well, you said you're there in the Barca Lounger with your feet up,
exactly.
just watching TV.
Well, why wouldn't I be?
I'm right there with you, believe
know?
me. Yeah. I want to check it out, that's all. Dominic Smith, that's hard hit into right, a leadoff single, second hit for the Mets. There's a lot of Game of Thrones fans around the ballpark, just not many of them in the booth, that's all. So it's like I'm up here north of the wall.
There's a lot of those type of shows that look really interesting, and I think you have to kind of see the first season to kind of get into it.
Everybody has. Do you
understand?
Are you into
who all the characters' names are? And
yeah. Do you watch? What do you watch? What do you like?
You know what? I don't really watch much of anything. I do a little bit of reading, and it's not anything of depth, but it's mostly like magazines, and I like reading National Geographic. I do a lot of research on photography.
I was going to say with the pictures and everything.
Stuff. I like to immerse myself into photography things.
Sure.
I feel like I have a lot to learn there.
Have you done shows? It seems like I can remember a show or two in the past, maybe for a charity or something.
I've done a few.
Yeah.
And last year I had a charity auction here.
That's it.
The Arizona Diamondbacks here up in the suite had me pick out 4 of my favorite photographs, and they had some of their season ticket holders come, and I had a nice audience. I talked a little bit about my photography, and then we auctioned off a few of my photographs, and some of the proceeds went to Diamondbacks charities.
Terrific job by you. Here's Goldie in foul ground, and he runs out of room. Lost his hat.
Lost his hat.
Gonna need some help.
That's a dangerous area over there. You don't want Goldie going over that railing.
No.
That's a long drop down to a cement floor right there. Fortunately, only his hat went over.
We actually made our way up to Page in Monument Valley, and I've been living here in Arizona for a long time, and I'm finally now just getting up there with my camera and discovering some of the areas that I've only heard about.
Beautiful, huh?
It really is.
Is this something that you've been doing for a long time, or is this relatively new?
Photography is something that I majored in. I majored in I majored in photojournalism at USC. Worked for the college newspaper there. Worked for a small little rock and roll magazine while I was living in LA for the 3 years. So I really got into photography then. There wasn't digital cameras, it was only film then. So I got into the dark room and developed my film and really enjoyed it. I understand there's, you know, lots of really good photographers out there, and that's why I enjoy reading about photography and watching various things like that and learning.
Good job by Ketel Marte to hang on as they get the force on Dominic Smith at second for the second out. Coming in hard at second here.
Nothing dirty or illegal about that. Dominic Smith just going in hard. I don't think the Diamondbacks had any chance to potentially turn a double play right there, but Dominic Smith wanted to make sure.
And pitcher Jason Vargas now. Rosario, the shortstops at first, and 2 outs. Matt Cook at 70 pitches, 41 strikes. He has walked 1. He's got 3 strikeouts.
Well, I imagine the change to digital really changed the way you approach photography. I would imagine.
I think it you know, the old school photographers still shoot film. But I think what it did was it made things a lot easier for a lot of photographers that weren't maybe as good as they thought, and I think I fall in that category. And I guess we'll cut away to that segue again. We'll pick up where we left off for the 3rd consecutive inning.
Series opener 3-1. Don't forget this Father's Day, give Dad the gift of baseball with MLB.tv. Watch baseball live or on demand on his favorite supported devices and save 50% now through Father's Day. It's half off. There are blackout and other restrictions, so check out MLB.tv for details. Do you have that? Are you watching games on your phone and stuff? iPad? MLB.tv?
No.
It's an excellent service. You're still trying to figure out the Netflix?
Yeah, one step at a time.
Baby steps. Well, Matt Cook is pitching a beauty here, RJ. He's only given up 1 run, 2 hits. He had a 9-pitch fourth, a 10-pitch fifth inning, and here he is at bat to lead off the home half of the fifth.
He's filled in really nicely for Taiwan.
Sure has, hasn't he?
You know?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, had we not had the replacement pitchers filling in for the people that have gotten hurt, I think things could be a little different if our pitchers weren't pitching well when our hitters were struggling during that period and making games a little bit closer.
That's a great point. It's tough enough to.
The division right now could be a little bit closer right now.
Well, it's hard enough to fill in for those guys as it is, but to do it in May when the team was not hitting and then there wasn't much offense behind it makes it even more impressive.
Right.
Back to that pitcher slumps that you were talking about not too long ago.
Yeah, Cook has pitched extremely well since he has been up here.
Looks at a curveball. Vargas gets his 5th strikeout.
Same kind of hitter I am. He's walking back to the dugout, but that's okay.
Did you not enjoy the hitting?
I did, and I think the fans enjoyed it when I got a base hit. I think they probably got more excited than when I struck out 15.
Well, it makes it fun. Zach Greinke's a terrific hitter.
Sure, he absolutely is. Yeah, well, and when I was playing, there was a lot of very good hitting pitchers. Greg Maddux, Mike Hampton, Livan Hernandez.
There's John Jay. Singled his last time.
That guy gave up a few home runs to some pitchers, I believe. But you know what? I hit one too.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
who was the best hitting pitcher you ever saw?
Well, I would say probably Mike Hampton or Livan Hernandez. I think they probably have the most home runs.
Boy, John Jay's collecting hits by the bushel here. Ever since we got back from Colorado, he's 2 for 3 tonight.
I think back in my playing days, it would have to either be Don Robinson, who was a teammate of mine with the Giants, came over from the Pirates, or Fernando Valenzuela. Probably could hit 5th in most lineups in the National League back then.
You know you're pretty good, and I guess I wasn't that good. You know you're pretty good when you're a pitcher and you're not pitching that day, but you get the pinch hit for somebody, or you get the pinch run.
Yeah.
You know, and we saw that all the time. You know, and so you know you're a pretty good athlete when you're pinch running or you're pinch hitting.
Or you play for the Cubs and Joe Madden has you in the outfield, you know.
Yeah, it happened once. I got to play outfield one time. It was the last game of the year, and Lou Piniella said, "What position do you want to play?" And I said, "Just put me out in the outfield." I think it was in Minnesota at the Metrodome.
Yeah, one of those days when Lou had a little bit too much wine the night before.
It was the last game of the year. We were 20 games out, so
get out there. Changeup misses low for Nick Ahmed. Nick has walked and hit into a double play tonight. We're with Randy Johnson on this Throwback Thursdays. The D-backs wear the 2002 uniforms of the NL West Division champs. Celebrating 20 years of D-backs baseball.
I'd like to ask you kind of a serious question here. I don't think you ever went through this over the course of your career, but with Robbie Ray down and Shelby Miller down, some of these guys have had opportunities to be plugged into the rotation. They've done a nice job, but you know those guys are coming back soon. What does that do to you out there on the mound when you know you might be pitching for your life?
Frazier scoops it at third.
Well, you know what? I think to keep things in check, we're going to answer that question when we come back.
You are amazing.
Right on top.
Stay hot.
Because we are on a roll right now. And as long as the segues keep coming, I'll stay in the booth here.
And cut. 3-1 as we start the 6th inning. Our Chaz Roberts Air Conditioning and Plumbing Cool play of the game, celebrating the 0-2 NL West champs, the big unit. Mike Fetters and Brett Prinz out there. Opening pitch, and hello.
Change eye level.
Steven Souza Jr. is injured. Can you take it easy?
I think I was too.
That was just before the ball game. Michael Conforto leads off the 6th against Matt Cook. Matt, a 9-pitch 4th, a 10-pitch 5th. He's given up only 2 hits. Conforto was grounded out and walked. He's 0 for 1.
I think with all the pitches that I've thrown out this year so far, my pitch count's going up. I'm getting close to my limit.
Conforto hits one pretty deep to center field.
It's gone.
And it's on the home run porch. That's his 8th, the second Met solo homer tonight against Matt Cook, and New York is back within 1.
Well, it was just a couple of weeks ago they were talking about possibly sending Michael Conforto back to the minor leagues to try to find his swing. Well, he found it that time.
And in the series that when we were in New York, he single-handedly, I think, in one of the close games against the Mets, had 2 or 3 RBIs in that game.
Yeah, he had 5 hits, 4 RBIs in 3 games, and the D-backs were swept at Citi Field last month.
But you know what? That just goes to show you how fast things come and go in this game.
Todd Frazier 0 for 2. Conforto was stuck in a 1 for 23 coming into the ball game tonight. That's just his 4th base hit this month.
So we've had that segue a little bit when we've been cutting to the commercial. Have I ever answered any of the questions?
I'm never sure, frankly.
Yeah, okay. All right. I know we've
what was the last one?
I don't know. I've been up here now for 3 innings, and we've cut to commercials right when I was getting ready to answer something. I don't know.
Some
if
of this stuff is beyond our control.
Yeah, I know.
I think you're doing a wonderful job.
It's all beyond our control.
But the fact that we haven't noticed means that you're doing it seamlessly.
Well, I think I remember one thing. That was Mark Grace back when we were talking about my pitching
I think that was
slumps.
4 innings ago.
Well, that's okay.
Jake Lamb at 3rd, long throw. Frazier's running on the grass, but they retire him at first, 1 away. So what do you have?
Well, the most recent question was about these guys that have been plugged into the rotation. Do they feel pressure knowing that Robbie and Shelby are coming back?
Well, I think I think the most important thing is they've handled themselves well. They've now opened some eyes without a doubt, and that's the most important thing. When you're given a chance, as long as that chance, that opportunity is, or as short as that opportunity is, and sometimes it might only be 1 start, a couple at bats that you might be getting. Take advantage of it, and obviously you want to. It doesn't mean it's always going to be the case, but yes, I think these pitchers have done extremely well, and they've opened the eyes. And I don't know when Shelby's going to be back, and Robbie Ray. So in the meantime, they need to continue to do what they're doing, and there's no guarantee that these guys will come back, Robbie and Shelby, and be right on top of their game right away. So it's nice to know as a manager that you have something you can fall back on.
And the big picture is this is creating depth with the organization on the mound.
Absolutely.
And Robbie Ray makes his first rehab start tonight at Visalia, going to throw about 50 pitches. Shelby Miller starts Saturday. That's his 4th rehab start. They hope to get him up to about 85. And Randall Delgado is pitching for Reno tonight, hoping to stretch out to 2 innings. 0-2 on Brandon Nimmo. Well, that was a pretty good pitch. Didn't get the call there from Bruce Dreckman.
Were there ever any umpires you felt like were out to get you, wouldn't give you borderline?
They all were.
Yeah,
they all were.
That's the same way I feel.
Y'all were. I had a lot of I got called up in '88 in Montreal, and I very happy that I got called up in that at that time of the game, because I got to play against a lot of Hall of Fame players, and I got to see a lot of characters that were umpires. But most importantly, I got to see managers that are no longer managing. Some of them aren't alive anymore. In the ballparks that I got to pitch in are no longer there. And I think for all those reasons, I'm very thankful that I got called up when I did, because I really have a lot that I can reflect on, and it's not just all these newer ballparks. It's history ballparks. You know, Detroit, Cleveland. You know, a lot of them.
Shea Stadium.
Well, yeah, I don't know if there's not a lot of good memories there, but pitching in some of these old ballparks. But I just remember walking in Old Tiger Stadium. You know, you walk through a cement tunnel, and then it leads out to an old-fashioned dugout, old-school dugout. And there's the ballpark, and the right field awning is hanging over there. And I'm just thinking about the players that have walked through this tunnel.
Well, in Detroit especially, yeah. Back when it was Briggs Field and everything else.
All that old Yankee Stadium. You know, those ballparks that have, you know, and a couple of them are still around. Wrigley Field, obviously, and Fenway. Because people say, well, what were your favorite ballparks? Well, the ones that had the history. The ones where you knew when you were walking out to the mound or warming up in the dugout or walking from the clubhouse down to the dugout, that there were so many people and the greatness that walked before you and pitched there and played there. And, you know, I still enjoy watching the MLB channel, because occasionally they'll have an old black and white game, or they'll show highlights from, you know, black and white games and footage, and you see the men wearing the hats and the ties, and you know, it's just if I could go back and pitch in that era, I would love to do that.
You up against Walter Johnson, how about that?
Well, I would love to see how great all those hitters were. How, you know, I'm so fortunate that I get to go back to the Hall of Fame every year and watch new members new players get inducted. But in the meantime, I get to talk to some of the older players.
Yeah.
And when I was a New York Yankee for 2 years, I got to listen to Yogi Berra talk. What a thrill. I got to meet Warren Spahn, the winningest left-handed pitcher. And when you get them talking, you just be quiet and let them talk. You know,
that's kind of the way Bob and I approach this.
Well, yeah. Well. But you just let those guys talk, because they have so much to say. And I would love to go back and see, and not even pitch against them, but just go back and sit in the stands and know what I know about the game and just watch them. Right, here we go again with the narrow segue. But I'd love to watch them pitch. I think baseball's come a long ways, but don't ever forget where the game came from, I think. And I have a greater appreciation now for that.
Off the bottom of the 6th inning. Fans, this Sunday, Father's Day, first 15,000 dads to our 1 o'clock game will get this fabulous D-backs Hawaiian shirt courtesy of Tyson Foods. Stick around after the game. You can run the bases with Dad for PCH. Visit dbacks.com/dad. Got an update from Visalia. Robbie Ray's night is over. His first minor league rehab start tonight. Robbie went 2 1/3. Gave up 5 runs, 2 were earned on 5 hits, couple of home runs, threw 46 pitches, 31 for strikes. So he gave up a couple of knocks there, but they got him up to just about 50 pitches, which is what they wanted.
And like we always talk about in these rehab outings, the numbers, they're nice if you can put up good numbers, but the real key is how is he going to feel tomorrow? How is he going to be able to bounce back and take that next step?
Exactly, and it took me a long time to understand when you're pitching against A-ball pitchers and you're a major league pitcher, they're excited to face you, and they're swinging right when they're coming out of the on-deck circle at you, and so I wouldn't be too alarmed, you know, as long as his his oblique muscle, as long as that's feeling good tomorrow, then I would take it for what it is, and look forward to him getting back, hopefully healthy.
This is tapped foul against the new Met pitcher, the right-hander Hansel Robles.
We were talking before we cut to the commercial about you know, the history of the game and what the game was like back in the early 1900s, and I think the one pitcher that I would love to go back and see pitch in time and how good he really was, and I had only heard stories on documentaries, was Satchel Paige.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
I've only heard stories of documented stories from the Hall of Fame and MLB channel about people that had faced him and what it was like to face him. And
even if the stories aren't true, they make great stories about calling in his defenders and striking out the side with no defenders behind him.
Yeah, you know what? The storytelling back then was amazing.
Well, you couldn't Google anything.
Yeah.
You still can now. Just taking trains to the cities and those long road trips.
Just, you know what? It's just, I don't know. It's a great time.
John Ryan Murphy has walked and scored a run tonight.
Who knew pitchers would be throwing 13 innings back then and throwing 200 pitches in a game? Sure doesn't happen now, that's for sure.
And with a 4-man rotation most of the time, sometimes a 3-man rotation.
Yeah, that's why. You know, there's certain things that I can agree with in this game, and then there's other things that I'm trying to figure out. You know, I mean, a pitcher and a player is still a player, whether you're, you know, from whether it's 2018 or it's, you know, 1974. The player is still a player out there. So why does that? Why can you not do what a player did from 1974? Are you not as strong? Are you not as willing? Yeah, and the player back in the 70s were limited. They didn't have as much technology. They didn't have as much, you know, help in the training room and technology there to make you feel better.
But in 1974, that starting pitcher was lucky if he was making 15 grand. Greinke's making $1 million a start.
So what's your point?
They're going to be a lot more careful with the guys now.
Why?
Because they might lose their investment. The guy could get hurt. I'm just saying the money, I think, has changed the way that they handle these assets. These guys are assets, and they're handled carefully because they got a lot of money.
And I was an ass too.
Hello.
You know, when I was pitching.
Let's segue out of that.
But I still enjoyed going out there and pitching 7-8 innings. You know. Yeah. And I don't care how much someone makes.
Well, you got guys.
I don't care how much someone makes. You're doing this for a short period of time, and the sooner you realize that, when you don't have the ability to go out and do what you once did, right? And it's taken away from you, or you just don't have a job anymore, or it's time for you to retire, you'll realize, wow, I gave it everything I got, and I can walk away from the game, or wow, I have some regrets. I wish I would have worked a little bit harder. I wish I would have pushed myself a little bit more. I wonder what it would have been like if I would have worked a little bit harder, pushed myself. And I think the organization limits that to pitchers. And it's not any one particular organization. I think they limit all pitchers to what they're capable of doing. You tell me how a pitcher is going to grow if you're taking him out of a situation late in the game, 7th, 8th inning, and he has a guy on second and third, and there's one out, and the tying run is on third base, and now he's bringing in someone from the bullpen. And he's bringing in, and you're bringing in someone from the bullpen. How does he know what pressure is like? You know,
you're making the argument that a lot of guys do that we don't develop starting pitchers anymore.
It's not. It's all organizations.
Sure, exactly.
Because it's I think it's a policy with all organizations. You know, about 100 pitchers, we need to protect our investment, and I think you're doing a disservice to the pitcher, because he's not understanding what he's capable of doing or getting out of a situation that he needs to understand how to get out of. You're bringing someone in from the bullpen to clean up his mess. I got in this mess, I'll get out of it, or at least give me the opportunity to try and get out of it so I can understand what it takes to be a better pitcher.
But they start that at the lowest levels of the minor league because the guy might be a first-round pick.
And I agree.
Yeah.
But they stop it here at the major league level.
2-2 on David Peralta.
I'll debate that with anybody.
The preceding message was brought to you by Randy Johnson.
From all 29 teams. I'll debate that with any general manager, with any pitching coach, with anybody.
Well, here's one thing you can't debate. We're out of time.
Oh, there we go. Well,
it was awesome to have you.
Till Throwback Thursday next Thursday.
The big unit, Randy Johnson.
We will segue back into this. I hope I made some valid points, but I feel very strongly about that.
What's happening next?
I'm not sure.
Lost control. Oh, it's time for Lowe's whole team together. The D-backs this month, where they rank among National League teams, a .750 winning percentage, 7.17 runs a game, and a nearly .870 OPS, all good for the second best in the league here in what's turned out to be a tremendous month of June.
Really good month of June so far.
Well, Matt Cook leaves after 6 with a 3-2 lead. Here's Yoshi Hirano. He'll face Jose Bautista, Dominic Smith, and Devin Mesoraco. 5, 6, and 7, and the Mets 7th. Our thanks once again to the big unit, Randy Johnson, who joins us on these Throwback Thursday broadcasts. Tell you what, Randy doesn't leave much. It's like when he's a starter, he doesn't leave any pitches on the mound.
There are certain trigger topics that will get his blood boiling.
I think he talks more during the breaks than he does on TV. It's always great to have him, though. It is highly entertaining. We always learn a lot. Here's Jose Bautista.
A really good bounce back outing for Matt Cook tonight. A couple of solo homers. Otherwise, he was totally in command of this game.
Yeah, it's just the home run by Nimmo in the first and Conforto in the 6th. Mets only have 3 hits. 2 of them are solo shots. Yeah, Matt 2 and 3 in his previous 6 starts. And so he turned in a terrific effort here tonight. Now it's up to the bullpen. I'm glad Randy's not here to see this. All set up to go Yoshi, Archie, and Boxberger here in a 3-2 ball game. I think it's great that he's still passionate about the game. That's what really stands out. Sometimes guys retire after long careers. They just want to play golf. They kind of give up on the sport. Randy's still into it. Chased a high heater on 3-0. Bautista trying to tie the game up with one swing. Able to check on that pitch, a fastball low. Yes, he went, says Chad Fairchild. They finally appeal, and Bautista's going to have to come back to home plate. Full count, 3-2.
I was groaning about the pitch. I thought that was a pretty good fastball right down there at the bottom of the knees. He definitely went that time. Could not hold up. Don't take it off.
Well, it was a late appeal there. Not Bautista's fault. So he's back in there with a full count. Got a fastball and couldn't keep it fair. Nice play by the Dark Knight Tom Harvey down there. Bautista's a guy that hit 23 home runs in Toronto last year, but hit barely over 200. He was out there all winter long with no takers. Braves finally signed him in the middle of April. They let him go. Now he's with the Mets. Another fastball. I keep expecting to see that split finger pitch here, but he's sticking with heaters.
7 straight fastballs in this at bat. That never would have happened against Jose Bautista a couple of years ago.
He was an all-star with the Blue Jays for 6 consecutive seasons, and during that run he averaged 38 homers a year.
He's going to get a splitter right here. He might screw himself into the ground.
Got him.
Well, our Nationwide Vision eye on the game, as we mentioned, all fastballs. Now Yoshi Hirano can command his fastball better than most, so it's not unusual that he attacks a power hitter with heaters. And then after showing him 7 in a row, he drops the splitter in there. Next pitch, here it goes. Woo! 10 miles an hour slower than the fastballs he'd been throwing to Bautista.
First baseman Dominic Smith as the only Met hit tonight that wasn't a home run, a single in the 5th against Matt Cook.
And when Hirano's in the game over the course of the season, just watch how many times the pitches split the corners or split the top of the zone or split the bottom of the zone, half the ball in, half the ball out. Rarely will you see him come right down the middle of that box.
Nice high hop for Ketel Marte. Smith hits into the shift. 2 down. That'll bring up Devin Mesoraco. This has been a tremendous signing, Yoshihisa Hirano. Longtime closer in Japan. Mesoraco, the catcher, 0 for 2. Well, you knew Vargas wasn't going to go very deep into the game. He has not pitched more than 5 innings all year. So Seawald is up in the bullpen. They've already used Robles. Here's the splitter. Yoshi working on a 1-2-3-7.
Two's a splitter. Back to Matt Cook, his 6th-inning outing tonight, the longest one by a starting pitcher for the Diamondbacks in the last week. Fortunately, they've been putting a bunch of runs on the board and been able to out-hit some of those short outings, but Matt Cook goes 6 full tonight.
Oh, 2 on Devin Mesoraco.
A little bit of a decoy behind the plate there by John Ryan Murphy. After he gave the sign, he puts his glove up high, making anybody that's watching think it's going to be a high fastball, and then gets down into that low crouch looking for the splitter. Yeah, you asked before about guys peeking back there. Well, sometimes it could be one of the base coaches that sees a catcher sitting up high. That's an indication it's going to be a fastball, because you don't throw breaking pitches up in the zone. And that time John Ryan Murphy decoying the base coaches, sat up high and then dropped down low.
Some guys do that. They'll set up inside and then at the last moment kind of dart to the outside corner. Rosario, the shortstop, would be next. 2-2 on Mesoraco. Here's a look from our Moss cam tonight. Stationed behind home plate. Give you a look at what Mesoraco is looking at. That background you see there, we talk about that all the time. That's why so many hitters love this ballpark. That just dark green flat wall behind the pitcher.
It just gives you a real good depth perception with that pitcher only 60 feet 6 inches away. I think back to playing in the Astrodome. Randy mentioned the Astrodome. What a great pitcher's park that was. And part of it was the batter's eye was 175 feet behind the outfield fence.
Wow.
There was a big tunnel that they used to back the semi trucks into the ballpark when they were having concerts and rodeos and what have you.
I think Evel Knievel jumped over it one time or through it.
But you'd stand there at home plate and you got Nolan Ryan on the mound one day, and then the next day it's Bob Knepper throwing 50 miles an hour. You know, it's so many different styles of pitchers that they had there in Houston, and the batter's eye was no use at all. They could have just put a big white light out there behind center field and served the same purpose.
Yeah, but the hitter really sees the ball well here in this ballpark with that background. Something that all the opposing hitters mention when asked about Chase Field. Mesoraco putting up a fight. Don't hit Zach Greinke.
That's why Jeff Mathis is there, to jump out in front of any foul balls that come that way.
Mets will not see Greinke in this series. They just missed him. D-backs won't see DeGrom either. Hey, he goes to the splitter and finally gets the strikeout. Yoshi a 1-2-3 7th. D-backs lead the Mets 3-2. Marte set to lead off the bottom of the 7th inning here at Chase Field. What's next brought to you by CenturyLink. 3 more games to go against the Mets tomorrow. It's Seth Lugo, who's got a really good curveball, up against Zach Godley. He's got a pretty good one as well. And then Saturday, Steven Matz, who was supposed to start this game tonight, got bumped back to Saturday, takes on Patrick Corbin. Father's Day Sunday, Buchholz and Wheeler. And then it's a long road trip, Anaheim, Pittsburgh, and Miami. Marte had an RBI single in the 2nd. He's 1 for 2. Boy, Jackson Generals have had some pitching. The D-backs AA affiliate Taylor Widener struck out 12 in his start last night. And right now the Jackson Generals have a no-hitter through 8, a combo no-hitter. 4 guys have combined at Jacksonville. They lead at 6-0.
Don't tell RJ they took the starter out with a no-hitter going.
Yeah, you get to tell him this time.
Well, you can certainly understand Randy's point of view. When you look back at the numbers, in 1999 he threw 271 2/3 innings. Most inning pitched in a season since 1999. That was him in '99.
Archie getting ready for the 8th. Human physiology hasn't changed that much. It's just the way that we handle these guys who are now, they're not players, they're investments, they're assets. And they're handled accordingly. Marte, a walk to lead off the 7th.
And then the other side of that coin, the old school side, is there's an infinite number of replacements.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I mean, certain guys you don't want to even think about trying to replace, but you know, there's always going to be another one coming down the pike at some point.
Mound visit time for the Mets. You've got Jake Lamb coming up. Dave Island, the pitching coach. Boy, the Mets really looking for something to change. They've lost 10 of their last 11. They've lost 34 of their last 50. Things have really not gone well. They've scored 3 runs or fewer in 9 consecutive games. They trail this one 3-2. And looking for answers. D-backs trying to pad their lead. Marte at first, nobody out. Here's Lamb 0 for 2. He's flat out twice. I think Randy had a great point, though. We're not training guys to pitch 9-inning games anymore. I mean, every pitch is counted at the lowest levels of the minor league. Somebody's a first-round pick, a bonus baby. You're going to monitor every single pitch, make sure he didn't get hurt. Fastball from Robles. Lamb can't catch up, and it's 0-2. So by the time guys get up here, they used to going 5-6 innings and call it a night. Chased a slider down. Lamb 0 for 3, 1 away.
Jake Lamb just not seeing the ball well out of the hand of Hansel Robles. A fastball right there, 94 on the corner. Another fastball right down the middle at 95, and then a hard slider down and in that was never in the strike zone for strike 3. Our nationwide vision eye on the game.
Chris Owings 0 for 2. Pitcher spot is up next. Daniel Descalso in the on-deck circle. Mets bullpen is busy and ready. Way up in the air for Conforto in center. Now they'll announce Descalso. And that's Mickey Callaway's cue to go out to the mound and get his right-hander. He's got a left-hander ready in the bullpen to face Descalso. Back after this.
Fans receive 15% off at the Chase Field Team Shop when you use the card by Gila River Casino.
So Descalso announced as the pinch hitter. Mickey Callaway, the Mets skipper, counters by bringing in his left-hander Jerry Blevins, who has not had a great year. An ERA about 5 1/4. He's stranded 17 inherited runners this year. He's got Marte at first and 2 outs. But here's the thing, lefties are hitting over .330 against him. He's not getting left-handers out.
It reminds me of my time in Chicago when they had Mike Remlinger, a left-handed pitcher who was much better against right-handed hitters than lefties.
He was a Dartmouth guy, Mike Remlinger.
Yeah.
Descalso, 267, 7 home runs. He's got 2 home runs this year against left-hand pitchers. I thought lefties were supposed to be automatic against lefties.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
I mean, some lefties feature a big breaking ball, and along with a fastball, that's usually enough to get a left-handed hitter out. But a lot of lefties nowadays throw that straight changeup that fades down and away from a right-handed hitter, and that's their most effective pitch.
Descalso pokes it down the line. That's a fair ball. Marte's on the run. He'll stop at third. They're on the corners with 2 outs for John Jay.
Daniel Descalso's a smart hitter. He knows they bring the lefty in to face me. He's probably going to start me with a breaking ball. So he's ready and gets out around it, pulls it down into that right field corner, putting D-backs on the corners for John Jay.
And Jay has already singled twice tonight. He's 2 for 3. A guy that handles himself very well against left-hand pitchers. Archie Bradley's ready in the bullpen to work the 8th inning. Be nice to get him another run or 2 here. Fastball up, 1-0. Oh my goodness. Bruce Dreckman.
Every night.
Wow. He's had about 5 of those tonight. Nowhere close. 1-1.
Ooh, surprising to see John Jay spin out of the way. Normally he would take that off that right thigh and just head on down the first baseline.
He's got Nick Ahmed on deck behind him. Here's a look. Maybe he saw the highlights of Brandon Nimmo not getting out of the way. Or trying to. Nick has walked and hit into a pair of double plays tonight. Archie ready to go for the 8th inning. Mets will have Rosario, the number 8 hitter, due up, followed by the pitcher spot, and then Michael Conforto. Conforto homered in the 6th. 2 on, 2 outs, 2 balls, 2 strikes on John Jay. That one did hit him, and the bases are loaded for Ahmed.
It was only a matter of time.
John Jay's one of those guys, just has a knack for it.
Right in the wallet.
Mickey Callaway gonna make a change here. D-backs have the bases full in the 7th. Back in just a moment.
Taco Bell is giving away 3 free crunchy beef tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations.
Well, Nick Ahmed has hit into a pair of double plays tonight. He's up with a big opportunity against new right-hander Paul Sewald, who has struggled mightily as of late. He's given up 3 homers in his last 3 games. Ahmed up with the bases loaded and 2 down. D-backs have a 3-2 lead in the bottom of the 7th. Paul Sewald has allowed 12 earned runs in his last 15 innings of work. Ahmed up there with Marte at third, Descalso at second, and John Jay at first. A walk, a single, and a hit batter have loaded the bases with 2 down.
D-backs still looking for their first grand slam of the season.
Couldn't think of a better time. Wild pitch would work too. Sewald behind 2-0. Mesoraco is going to get out there to calm him down. Nick has really been barreling up the baseball lately. Ahmed, top 10 in the majors in balls rated as hard hit this month. He's actually ahead of Ketel Marte in that category. Nick is hitting .316 in June.
Diamondbacks may not have a grand slam, but they've found ways to get guys on the plate with the bases loaded. They've drawn 9 walks with the bases loaded, also a hit by pitch.
2 balls and no strikes. Make it 3-0. Now you got to take at least one here.
I don't know. You know, there's 2 schools of thought. The guy hasn't thrown a strike yet. He hasn't come close yet. Make him throw a strike. The other school of thought is he's just going to toss a cookie in there trying to get back in the count. Like that. Ooh. That's all right. He's got to do it again.
Here's the 3-1. Couldn't keep it fair.
Yeah, that's not all bad either. Fouling off that 3-1 pitch now with 2 outs in the inning. All the runners will be in motion as the ball's delivered.
The Met bullpen has been busy most of the night. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Here it is. Full count to Nick Ahmed, 3-2. Runners on the move. Ball 4. He walked in a run. 4-2 D-backs. Here comes Goldie with the bases full. He has homered and struck out twice. A solo shot in the 3rd, his 13th of the year. D-backs have home runs tonight from Goldschmidt in the 3rd and Peralta in the 4th. Couldn't check on the slider low, and it's 0-2. Got him to chase another one. Goldie strikes out. They leave him loaded. D-backs add a run. It's 4-2 as we go to the 8th. It's now 4-2 as we start the top of the 8th. Archie Bradley out there with now a 2-run lead.
The numbers for Archie this season. Hasn't been striking out as many batters lately. He's still been very effective out of the bullpen, getting the outs that he needs to get, but just hasn't been overpowering hitters the way we're used to seeing.
Oh, he hit a bump in the road with a 2-run lead against these Mets at Citi Field last month. You might recall this. And the D-backs in the mist and fog and rain, lousy weather in New York, were swept in that 3-game series at Citi Field. So here's Archie, a chance for redemption. Ahmed Rosario 0 for 2. The shortstop leads off the 8th. Luis Guillorme is in the on-deck circle. He would hit for the pitcher, and then it's Michael Conforto. Rosario is one of these Mets who is really slumping right now. He is stuck in a 2 for 26 as he steps in here. Or check that, actually make it 4 for 35 in June. Mets going through in June what the D-backs suffered through in May. The entire team all at once just stopped hitting.
You know who else stopped hitting all at the same time? Jacksonville.
The Jumbo Shrimp.
The Jackson Generals. Justin Donatella, Daniel Gibson, Kirby Bello, Kevin Ginkel, and Brad Goldberg combined to no-hit the Jacksonville. What are they called?
The Generals. Oh, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp.
The Jumbo Shrimp. Yeah.
So it was Jackson versus Jacksonville.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, Taylor Widener had a dozen strikeouts last night for Jackson, and tonight they threw a combo no-hitter. Congratulations to the Generals. 1-2 on Ahmed Rosario. He gets into one. Peralta backing up, and that one is gone. Ahmed Rosario, you recall in that same series last month, he had a 2-homer game against the D-backs. A solo shot off Archie Bradley makes it a 4-3 ball game here at Chase Field.
That's Rosario's 4th on the season, 3 coming against the Diamondbacks. It looked like he hit that ball right off the end of the bat. I'm surprised it got that kind of carry. No, I guess he did barrel it a little more than I thought. Just enough to get out of here.
So it's 4-3 as Guillorme hits for the pitcher. Luis Guillorme, the rookie, a 185 hitter in 23 games this year. He is 2 for 7 as a pinch hitter this season. Ahmed Rosario. Archie's behind on the pinch hitter, 3-0. Conforto, who homered in the 6th, is on deck. Guillorme called up from AAA Las Vegas May the 9th. He was hitting .300 in the Coast League when he was brought up. A home run and a walk start off the 8th inning for Archie, and here comes Conforto.
It seems like when Archie does struggle, it's usually early in his outing. I think sometimes he gets a little bit too much adrenaline pumping when he gets out there on the mound. He needs to face a couple of hitters, kind of lose that edge, and then just go out there and make pitches.
Conforto has walked and homered. He's 1 for 2. Some Met fans down here starting to get into it. Starts him off with a curveball. Conforto's homer in the 6th inning, just his 4th base hit this month. Even with the homer, he's 4 for 36 in June. Launches another one deep to center field. Co's got it under the home run porch. Guillorme back to the bag, allowed out number 1 for Archie. Here's Todd Frazier. Frazier 0 for 3. D-backs will put 3 infielders on the 3rd base side. Marte just a couple of steps on the shortstop side of second. Zellman will start to get it cranked up now in the Met bullpen. Yoshi Hirano, a nice quick 1-2-3 7th. Archie struggling here in the 8th. Yoshi has now pitched 15 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. On the ground to second, short. They get 1, and Archie rolls a big double play. But the Mets get the Rosario homer to pull within 1. Casinos game summary. D-backs have solo homers from Goldie and Peralta. The Mets have solo shots from Conforto, Nimmo, and Rosario for all 3 of their runs. And they'll look for another pad run here in the bottom of the 8th inning. The pitcher for New York, the right-hander Jacob Rain, brought up from AAA Las Vegas just about a week ago. He's been up and down all year. John Ryan Murphy, the cleanup man, leads off the D-backs 8th. John Ryan walked and scored in the 2nd. He's 0 for 2. This is popped up near the bag at second as Jubal Cabrera's got it, 1 away. Here comes Peralta. Gave it a long home run that cleared the yellow line in dead center to lead off the 4th, his 13th of the year.
And it appears he suffered no ill effects from that hit by pitch back in the 2nd inning. You may recall he took one off the right forearm before doing this. Boom. Straight away center field. There was some question whether it was over the yellow stripe or not. Umpires got together and said, yes, that ball's out of here.
Yeah, they initially ruled it off the wall for a triple. David was standing at third. The umpires got together and they said, no, go on in. So Peralta's homered now in back-to-back games. He homered here yesterday, I should say, against the Pirates. Chased a high fastball. 1-2. So David counting tonight 12 games this month. He's got 10 extra base hits and 13 RBIs. Sliders in the dirt. Didn't go, says Jim Reynolds, the crew chief at third, and it's 2-2. Ketel Marte on deck. Brad Boxberger starts to get loose in the Sanderson Ford bullpen. Mets will have Nimmo, Cabrera, Bautista due up 3, 4, and 5. Fastball at 97 is low from Rame, and it's full 3-2. Marte has an RBI single and a run scored tonight.
This is the D-backs' 13th game in the month of June. They have as many home runs in June as they had in the entire month of May.
And one more to the list, Bob Brenly, because that one is gone. David Peralta, his second tonight, his third in 2 games. And the D-backs have a 5-3 lead.
Laser beam straight 97-mile-an-hour fastball. David can hit a fastball. We know that. Clubs this one to right field, and no doubt it.
I see tacos in your future. That's 5. Ketel Marte. Each team now with 3 solo homers in the game. So the D-backs get that extra run back. 1 in the 7th and now 1 in the 8th. Second career multi-home run game for David. This one is chopped in the hole. Frazier ranges over there. Throws out Marte, 2 down.
Well, the fat and happy theme continues. That was our key to the game the other day because we've been banging on that fast food trifecta with regularity. We've had tacos 9 out of 13 games in June.
We were starving in May. Now we're fat and happy in June. So Boxberger will have at least a 2-run cushion. Jake Lamb 0 for 3. Got to get Jake going here. He's hitting just about 200 this month. Does have 3 home runs. Giants and Rockies both in action today. Both lost. Lamb high in the air. Deep right field. Did he get enough? You bet believe it. Back to back in this inning. Peralta with 1 out. Lamb with 2 outs. And it's 6-3. Well, we just said got to get him going. That's his 4th home run this month.
That made a loud noise off the bat. Another laser beam fastball inside corner of the plate. The only question was, did he have enough? It was high in the air to right field, but cleared that fence with ease.
Second in the inning, I meant to say, not back to back. 4 homers for the D-backs. Now a 3-run cushion. Here's Chris Owings. Another jumbo jack in the box tomorrow. Alex Avila's come out in the on-deck circle. He will hit for the pitcher. Jorge De La Rosa starts to get loose in the D-back bullpen now, joining Brad Boxberger. Jorge just off the DL today. Silvino Bracho was optioned back to AAA Reno. 2-1 on Owings. There's a bouncer that Rosario has to charge. Makes a nice play. D-backs get home runs from Peralta and Lamb. 6-3 as we hit the ninth. Throwback Thursday, we wear the 2002 NL West Division Championship unis. 4 solo homers. Goldie, Peralta hit 2, Lamb added 1. And now on to close it out with a 6-3 lead here in the 9th inning is Brad Boxberger, 14 for 16 in his save opportunities this year. He'll work to Nimmo, Cabrera, Bautista, 3, 4, and 5 in the Met 9th. D-backs will put the shift on against the left-hand batting Nimmo, who homered off Matt Cook in the first, his 9th of the year. Giants 6-3 losers at Miami. Evan Longoria suffered a fractured hand in that game. Was hit by a pitch. He's going to be out a while. And the Rockies for a while were getting no hit at Philadelphia. They lost that game to the Phillies 9-3. Padres 4-2 losers in Atlanta. Boxberger behind 3-0. As Drupal Cabrera 0 for 3 on deck. Fastball's in there, says Bruce Dreckman. Full count, 3-2. Called strike 3. The fastball was low, below the knees. Nimmo not happy, understandably, but that's out number 1 in the 9th.
That's Brad Boxberger's calling card. Working around the edges of the zone, maybe just a little below the bottom of the zone that time, but they do get the call from Dreckman.
Borderline pitch. Cabrera struck out twice, 0 for 3.
I mentioned it earlier about Yoshi Hirano. If you watch ball games moving forward, how many times he hits the line around the edges of the strike zone. Boxberger the same way.
There's an inside pitch that did not appear to hit the line. You see Bruce Dreckman nodding, yeah, it did. Shift is still on against the switch hitter. Change-up's low. It's a ball and a strike. That one hit the edge.
Well, one more borderline strike call, and Asdrubal Cabrera is going to get ejected from this ball game. Fastball away.
John Jay in right field.
Yeah, Jose Batista's trying to keep him in the ball game. Cabrera, after hitting that fly ball to right field, just stood at home plate barking at Bruce Dreckman.
This is a view from Mosscam.
Yeah, he's complaining about the earlier pitches in the at-bat, forced him to swing at that pitch with 2 strikes, and Jose Batista, being a good teammate, hustled up there and tried to keep Bruce Dreckman away from Cabrera.
Well, here is Bautista, last man standing. He has grounded out and struck out twice, 0 for 3.
Rare slider that time from Brad Boxberger, just to show it.
Kept it down.
Yeah, advanced scouts make a little note in their book. He threw a slider tonight. And right back to the changeup.
1-2 on Bautista. Got him. D-backs win the opener here. They've won 6 of 7, 12 of their last 16. They beat the Mets 6-3.
Well, step 1 of 4 in returning the favor to the Mets, who swept the Diamondbacks back at Citi Field a couple of road trips ago. Game 1, really nice job by everybody.
4 solo homers, 2 by David Peralta. Goldie and Lamb got the others. It all adds up to a 6-3 D-backs win. Back with much more from Chase Field after this.